Oklahoma next at 62%. They'll play Kansas Saturday, noon Eastern on ESPN. And so let me bring Heather and Paul into the conversation. Good morning to you both, as always. Heather, how did that loss by Iowa in the big picture impact the playoff race right now?
Well, two things, Greeny. The first is that it put a severe dent in the Big Ten's chances of getting two teams in, because the most realistic scenario for that would have been to have Iowa go undefeated and lose a close game in the Big Ten championship. But the second thing that it does, and we saw this in the AP poll, is it opens the door for Cincinnati. The Bearcats do not need a miracle, but I will tell you this repeatedly until the SEC championship game. Cincinnati needs to hope that there are not two SEC teams in this thing, but so does Oklahoma, so does the Pac-12 champ, because what will happen is you will have Georgia, Alabama, the Big Ten champion, and then a big debate for that fourth spot.
Okay, so that opens the door, as you mentioned there, for Cincinnati. It also opens the door, Paul, for your favorite coach, Jim Harbaugh in Michigan. They're playing Northwestern this weekend. They're sitting in a very good spot. Is this the year that Big Ten champion and that representative in the playoff is Michigan?
This is definitely the year, Greeny, that Jim Harbaugh will beat Northwestern, but that's as far as I'm going to go. I think he has done a really good job. Give him credit. He was on the hottest seat in the country, and he's still alive very well because he's undefeated. He's got Michigan State next week. He's got Penn State and of course, Ohio State at the end of the year. And right now, I've seen too much football from the Big Ten to believe that Michigan can beat Ohio State. They're going to have a good season. He'll save his job, whether that pleases Michigan or not, but I still don't believe Michigan is going to beat Ohio State at the end of the year.
All right, we will see about all of that, and all these things are still to be played out. There are a few other stories around college football that I'm fascinated by. One of them is the coaching job at LSU, which opens now as Ed Orgeron is going to be out at the end of the season. On the radio, we were talking about it. That might be a more attractive job than a lot of NFL jobs, depending upon the circumstances. Heather, who's going to get it?
I like Mel Tucker at Michigan State, and normally I would say it's kind of taboo to hop around to three schools in about 4 years. He went from Colorado to Michigan State, but I don't think anybody would fault him, and nor should they, for jumping on this opportunity if it's presented. Look, undefeated, top 10 ranking. He's one of the hottest names in the industry right now, and he's got experience in the SEC. I mean, Alabama, Georgia, he's coached under Nick Saban. I think he's got all the pieces of the puzzle, so he'd get my vote right now.
What do you think? Paul, obviously you live in this every single day on your radio show and beyond. What are you hearing from people, and what is your expectation?
I think they would have liked to get a big name, a Dabo Swinney, who's not going there, or Jimbo Fisher, who previously was hired by the AD, now at LSU. But I don't think that's going to happen. So I think Mel Tucker is a really interesting choice. And the president at LSU is fairly new, is reportedly in favor of that. Think about this for a second, though. The last time LSU hired a coach from Michigan State, it was Nick Saban. He did pretty well down there.
Yeah, that all worked out pretty well for them. I got 30 seconds for one more quickly. The Heisman race is as wide open as it has felt in a really long time. Heather, in your view, who's the favorite?
I have Bryce Young at the top of my list right now. 24 touchdowns, leading the SEC, third in the FBS. Plus, you look at what he's done against the blitz over the last 7 games, completed 67% of his passes, 11 touchdowns, 1 interception. He's got my vote right now.
Paul, who you got?
Jordan Davis. Who is he? He's the head of the best defensive line I've ever seen at the University of Georgia. Will he win it? Probably not. Is he the best? He's the best player. He represents that defensive line, and I think he deserves a lot of consideration, Greeny.
Got to talk about Aaron Rodgers. Vintage Rodgers turned into unfiltered Rodgers Sunday in Chicago. You saw it, yelling, "I own you" at Bears fans after scoring a touchdown that sealed the Green Bay win. Yesterday with Pat McAfee, Rodgers talked about what it felt like to walk off Soldier Field.
I was wondering what it would feel like to walk off the field, and in that moment, if it would feel like it was going to be my last time or not. And so I was generally looking forward to what that felt like. And the way I felt walking off the field was why I answered the question the way I answered it. It didn't feel like the last time, for whatever reason. I'm not sure why necessarily, but energetically, it didn't feel like it was the last time walking off that field.
He's staying forever.
What is that supposed to mean? Tim Hasselbeck, I think of everyone, you had the most interesting observation about all of this.
Well, yeah, I think the worst thing to happen to the Packers this year has been Pat McAfee. I mean, let's be honest. Think about this. Whether it's a conversation about Mike Tomlin, whether it was back in the offseason when Adam Schefter was like, hey, if you could just give, Aaron Rodgers the truth serum. It's like, no, he doesn't need a truth serum. He needs his scotch and Pat McAfee. And he's going to tell you exactly what he is thinking. And it's going to cause a talk about everything about his future. Does he want to be there? How mad is he still at the organization? The reality is he's playing at a ridiculously high level, which he's been doing for a while now. And it's like these little kind of, conversations with Pat, every week where you go, wait a minute, what's that supposed to mean? Is it a shot? Wait, has he made up with them? It's just a distraction going forward. It's amazing, really.
You're 100% right. I think we have all. If there's one thing we can all agree upon is that McAfee is a menace, and he must be contained. That said, Dominique, we sit here. We love to analyze and sort of break down everything that Aaron Rodgers says and guess what he's thinking. So now he says it didn't feel like the last time he's walking off Soldier Field. What did that mean?
I don't know. What is it supposed to feel like? I don't understand what it feels like for your last time somewhere. And when I read the quote, it made me feel like maybe Packers fans could draw some type of confidence from this, that he's coming back. But then when I heard the quote, it was different. He was saying, I was anticipating. I was wondering how it's going to feel to walk off the field. So to me, that suggests he was like, at the beginning of that game, he was like, this is my last game here. And then he walk off the field. Right. Oh, it doesn't feel like my last game. I don't know what's going to happen. So I'm not feeling any more confident if I'm Packers fans, but I do love Pat McAfee giving us something to talk about every Wednesday.
Yeah, so Fowler, what are we hearing from inside there? How do things seem to be going when he's not on McAfee's show?
Yeah, because I have follow-up questions about that. But
yeah.
From what I was told, as soon as he's been back in the building, it's been about football, and that means it's been smooth there. There really has been no talk about what happened in the offseason. A player told me that as soon as he showed up for training camp, there was a renewed spirit with the offense. Okay, we're going to lift off again here, and we're going to be pretty good as long as number 12 is in there. And so it was also pointed out to me it's very important that Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers have had a strong relationship, and that has continued. They work well together. So regardless of the issues of the front office, right now it's about the head coach and the quarterback, and those things are good.
All right, so one way or the other, they're running away with the division.
He's unpredictable like that. He's predictable he's predictable on the field, yes. But he's unpredictable and dramatic off the field, which would make me nervous and concerned, but it's better than having most of the quarterbacks in the league, so you deal with it.
He is predictable in his unpredictability. But we're rolling along here. Speaking of drama,
ESPN tonight, Friday on ESPN.
All right, back on Get Up. Jeremy Fowler, busy day. Let's run the hurry up through NFL news. What do we have?
Let's start with Le'Veon Bell, part of the 2016 All-Star team in that Ravens backfield. Now, he is back. He's promoted to the active roster. He was on the practice squad, but they activated him twice. Had to sign him, couldn't activate him a third time. I actually texted with Bell this offseason. He said he wanted to go to a team that emphasized the running back. He felt he was still in his prime, had good years left, didn't want to waste any more time. Now he gets his opportunity. Great story in Baltimore. Let's go to the Broncos. We got Teddy Bridgewater. The Broncos expect him to be available. He hurt his foot late in that game against the Raiders, kind of got it caught up underneath some offensive linemen on a passing play, but I'm told he's progressed pretty well. He's been limited in practice, but feeling